Let's go to a museum. So today I got on a bus, I went downtown, and I went to the Portland Art Museum. I haven't been to the Portland Art Museum in a really long time, and I had said last week that I wanted to start going out on some field trips, so I planned on doing this and I did it. For as much as I associate Portland with artists and creativity, the Portland Art Museum is not super big. I think it's the 21st biggest art museum in the United States. I've been to some that are, of course, massive, New York, Chicago, things like that, but even Denver had a much larger art museum. The Portland Art Museum does have a really nice collection, and it's really well curated. There's lots of different sections of like black artists or women artists or Native American art, things like that. So if you're looking to get exposure to a lot of different types of art, they do a really good job of that. Compared to some museums though, there wasn't a lot of depth. So, like they had a Monet, or they had a Van Gogh, or a Degas. There have been museums I've been to where they have a whole Monet wing or that sort of thing. So, like I said, lots of examples, but not a lot of depth. One thing I was really excited to see is they have a section devoted to Mark Rothko. Mark Rothko is a pretty interesting artist. I have seen Rothko paintings before, but from a distance, they're kind of unassuming and I never really kind of engaged with them. See, Mark Rothko, Russian-born artist, he grew up in Portland, Oregon, ended up moving in his 20s to New York to pursue art, and got very famous, and things ended badly for him. Rothko did a lot of different types of art, especially early on. He did pictures of people or places or landscapes, things like that. Later in his career, he kind of settled into abstract contemporary art. And the thing that he's really well known for in his late period were these large squares of color. It's like the classic, contemporary art thing where people are just like, it's just a big square of color. But Rothko considered these paintings to be paintings of feelings or emotions. It's a really peculiar and abstract idea, and most of his paintings in this period were just either a pair or a trio of rectangles of different colors, and some of them were very large and meant to be viewed from a very close distance. He thought that rather than art being small and you kind of imposing your opinion on it, that it should be immersive and encompassing and you should feel enveloped by it. And that's the thing about contemporary art. A lot of it is just a big square of color unless you have the context, and then that makes it much more interesting. And when you sit there with the painting for a while and you just sort of stare into it, because it is so abstract and just this field of color, what really stands out is not any sort of detail, but the amount of work that went into it. Like, you can tell that it's been applied and reapplied and worked over many times, and you end up with these almost like patterns or implications of shapes in there. It's all in your brain. When you stare into this thing, your brain, with the absence of any sort of information, starts to infer or project onto it. And it's pretty fascinating, really. And the thing is, with Rothko or any other artist, seeing a picture of a painting is nothing like being in front of the painting. The Portland Art Museum had some other contemporary art that was similar, where it was a single color, but there was a lot of texture to it. There was one painting that I saw that was just a white canvas, but it had glass beads and things in it, and there was a little bit of a grid to it. And so as you walked past it, there was a lot of texture and light and things like that happening. Again, photographs can't really do that any justice. The best example of this that I've ever seen is when I was in Washington, D.C. I got to see a Leonardo da Vinci painting. And it's just a painting of a woman's face. It's about 12 inches by 12 inches. It's under glass, so you can get quite close to it. And, if you see it, it's a nice painting. But when you're like right there with it, it looks like it's alive. Like there's light coming from it, and it just feels so rich. And no photograph can really capture that. When you see like a Monet or a Van Gogh in person, it's really interesting to get kind of close and just see how much paint is on the canvas. because some of it is like stacked on there. And it's just fascinating to me to think that they did this and then they were like, and that's it, it's done. But I've become a pretty big fan of the whole contemporary art thing. I find it fascinating what people do with stuff. I got to see a Marcel Duchamp exhibit at one point. He's the guy who drew a mustache on the Mona Lisa and said, "This is art." He's the guy who entered a urinal into an art contest, called it the fountain. And while it's really easy to just sort of wave that away, what he was saying and what he was implying about art in general was really, really interesting. And not only did it make you kind of re-examine things around you, but it made you re-examine art as a whole. And I find that fascinating. There's a piece of modern art I saw in a museum that was just 4 black squares on a wall. And when you first see it, it seems pretty unremarkable. But once you go up and you read the artist's statement, it was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. And once I understood what it was, I kind of stepped back and I watched people walk by it. And so many people would just go, oh, it's just 4 black squares, and just sort of brush it off. But what it was each of these squares, which were different sizes, represented the amount of ink it would take to print different books. And each of these books were written by dictators like Hitler or Fidel Castro. And so the point was that each of these black squares was enough to create havoc and kill millions and millions of people. And that was pretty profound, I thought. Looking at other people's art is definitely inspiring and pretty motivational. Really makes me want to try out some different things or experiment with different ideas. I will definitely go back. There were some things that I sort of skipped over. As much as I love taking photographs, I kind of glossed over the photography wing. I didn't check out a lot of the sculptures and that sort of thing, so definitely have to get back there. But as far as a little mini excursion, I would call it a success. I took the bus because I wanted to feel like a tourist. You know, when I'm in a big city and I'm traveling, I always take public transportation. I'll hop on their bus or their subway and go. And so riding the bus, walking to the museum, it felt pretty authentic. And there's lots of little nooks and crannies around town that I've just never explored, different neighborhoods and little pockets of neighborhoods, things like that, that I think would be fun to check out. So I'm going to make a little list of different places I want to go, and maybe a couple times a month I can just go on a little mini excursion and check it out. So that's it for this week. Thanks so much for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.